Good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight with me, Annabelle Tiffin. Our top story. Charities report an unprecedented demand for help from people struggling to pay their winter fuel bills.
It's costing a lot of money. It's too much. And I'm only in a small flat, and but it's costing a lot of money. Coming to these places is better and get a warm for the drink and that, you know.
The government's cuts to winter fuel allowance came into effect in the autumn. Also tonight, Kirkby Lonsdale 1 month on, how the Cumbrian town is recovering from its devastating fatal fire.
Accrington Stanley, who are they? Exactly.
Get your head up.
Will Stanley finally get their chance to remind the Reds 36 years after that infamous advert? How the big freeze is affecting farmers and the dangers for dogs and cats you may not have considered.
And mild air is on the way, it's just taking its time, so another bitterly cold night to come overnight tonight. Join me at the end of the programme for a full live weather forecast.
Charities across our region are reporting an unprecedented demand for help from people struggling to pay their winter fuel bills. They say rising energy costs and the loss of the winter fuel payments for millions of older people have left hundreds worried about how to stay warm during the current cold snap. From Middleton in Greater Manchester, here's Phil Cunliffe.
In what's been one of the most severe cold snaps in recent years, it's always a good idea to keep on the move. An alternative in Middleton is to head here. For Neil and Paul, this charity hub in the town's shopping centre offers a warm place to hang out and saves on the rising cost of heating their homes.
I'm only in a small flat, and but it's costing a lot of money. 30 odd quid a week or something, you know, it's a lot of money. And coming to these places is better and get a warm for the drink and that, you know.
I don't put it on much, to tell you the truth. You know what I mean? I do put it on when it gets really cold, like it has been the past few days, but...
So coming here gets around that problem, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it gets around the problem, yeah, so it's warm in here.
Around 10 million pensioners in England and Wales have recently lost their annual winter fuel payments after the new Labour government wanted to save money. They were worth between £100 and £300. The payments instead are restricted to those on benefits and pension credit, but not everyone realises that. And that's where the Lighthouse Project can offer some sound advice.
We offer a full debt service, and most people who do come to us do have some kind of fuel debt. We're definitely getting more inquiries around where people are struggling with their fuel, and we're having to make more applications for that support for fuel costs.
It's not just people coming here who are struggling to pay their fuel bills. The charity Citizens Advice say 1 in 4 people in England are worried that they'll have to turn off completely their hot water and heating this winter. That increases to almost 1 in 3 households with children.
So here in North Lancashire, we're seeing a record number of clients coming to us for advice about the cost of living and concerns about paying their energy bills. So obviously we've had the changes to the winter fuel payment. It's now a means tested benefit. So we've seen a number of people come to us, they're concerned about missing out and what that'll mean for them financially this winter. But we're also seeing lots of young people, families and working people who are struggling.
An amber cold health alert remains in place for all of England until Sunday. That's when, thankfully, it's due to turn warmer. Phil Cunliffe, BBC North West Tonight, Middleton.
Well, we did ask the Department of Work and Pensions for an interview about winter fuel payments, but we are still waiting for a response. Right, let's get a roundup, though, of today's other news now. And 2 Greater Manchester police officers have been cleared by the police watchdog over the death of a 15-year-old e-bike rider in Salford. Saul Cookson died after colliding with an ambulance at almost 30 miles per hour after police started following him in June 2023. It was found that the officers acted in line with procedure. Lancashire County Council has confirmed it will hold local elections this May. It could have requested a postponement ahead of potential reorganisation, which would see 15 councils replaced by a smaller number of authorities, along with an elected mayor. Elsewhere, councils in Cheshire, Cumbria and Derbyshire have formally asked to be considered for devolution, which could also involve an elected mayor. Residents still out of their homes following flooding in Stockport on New Year's Day have been told they'll have somewhere to stay for the next week. Stockport Council said insurer AXA had agreed to pay 7 days accommodation costs for Meadow Mill residents starting tonight. A collection of items belonging to legendary TV comedian Eric Morecambe has so far fetched tens of thousands of pounds at auction. There are more than 700 lots for sale, with another day at auction due tomorrow. Some items sold today included his iconic tailcoat and trousers, which went for £4,500, and his 1960s Breitling wristwatch, which fetched £10,000. Now, concerns over long-term health problems caused by heading footballs is growing, with the latest research suggesting former professional footballers are almost 3.5 times more likely to be diagnosed with dementia than the general population. So today, families of those affected joined ex-players in Manchester to call for more help for those impacted by the illness. Ian Haslam reports.
Justice! A plea for justice from former footballers and the families of players affected by brain injuries. Nobby Stiles won the World Cup with England, as well as 2 league titles, an FA Cup and a European Cup with Manchester United. He died in 2020, having lived with a form of dementia. His son John is now leading calls for a comprehensive football dementia strategy.
This is the next part of the battle to get the help that these families need. And we're not going to give up. This isn't just my dad's era, it's coming closer and closer. And while ever there's prolific heading the ball, particularly in training, this is a dose-related injury. The more you head the ball, the more of the disease you're going to get. So this is something, it's a scandal that it's not being addressed.
Manchester United and England legend Sir Bobby Charlton was diagnosed with dementia before his death, as was fellow World Cup winner Ray Wilson of Everton. United icon Dennis Law and Liverpool legend Terry McDermott are among those living with the condition. The campaign for better support for families has significant support, including from David Beckham.
I want to add my support to the work of John Stiles and the Football Families for Justice in their campaign to meet the needs of those affected.
Transfer fees of over 200 million.
The football industry is awash with money, and in these days of over 100 million transfers, why can't we help these families? They're desperate for it, so we've got to get it out there.
David May was part of Manchester United's all-conquering squad of the 1990s. Though he hasn't got symptoms of degeneration, it remains a concern to him.
Scared stiff, to be fair. Yeah. It's something that you don't want to talk about. You know, that's why we're doing what we're doing, because it's emotionally draining for everybody.
The campaigners hope the Football Governance Bill will now be amended to make it law for the football authorities and the Players' Union to provide a financial support scheme.
There is absolute recognition of the fact that these families need support. People have given so much to the game, and all they're asking for is that the game recognises their efforts. I think we can get there very, very quickly if we get goodwill from all parties.
Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
Now, a month after a major fire which claimed the life of a young man and tore through buildings in Kirkby Lonsdale, local people and businesses are being invited to a public meeting next week to discuss how the community can work together to recover from the blaze. Thousands of pounds have been raised through fundraising efforts to help those affected during and after the fire, as Phil Chapman reports.
The scene of devastation caused by the fire here in Kirkby Lonsdale on December the 8th is now boarded up and with traffic diversions in place. As the new year begins, local residents and businesses are remembering 45-year-old local man Ben Taylor, who died in the blaze. And the business community is now struggling in the aftermath.
There's a lot of concern about the traffic flow, which I think the businesses think that's probably going to cause problems for their business, which we're trying to work on, and West London Furnace Council working really hard to try and come up with an alternative solution. So hopefully we might be able to do something shortly. We wanted to create more money through the Cumbria Foundation, We've done that. That's got about 80, like last I heard, about 80-something thousand. So those funds are there to support all those people affected by the fire.
An inquest has been formally opened into the death of shop owner Ben Taylor. It's been adjourned until May while investigations continue.
Obviously, the town, all the thoughts and with the family and friends of Ben. And the issues are about the town itself and the businesses and the roads. But at the end of the day, somebody has lost a life, and we need to remember that.
Meanwhile, businesses in the immediate area are rallying round to support each other as traffic restrictions have been in place and things have gone quiet since Christmas.
January is notoriously quiet anyway. We have number 9 just over there. But I think this end of town, particularly where this is struggling.
They're really struggling. The pubs are empty on a night. It's, from a business point of view, it's not good.
This end of town seems very negative at the moment. It's very difficult because we've got some amazing businesses sort of getting lost in the aftermath of it all.
And after a very difficult few weeks here, local people and businesses will gather here at Loonsdale Hall next Tuesday to discuss Kirkby Lonsdale's continued recovery. Phil Chapman, BBC North West Tonight.
Now, Abby's going to be here in a bit to tell us how long this cold snap is here for. But while it is, how is the region's wildlife coping? Well, conservation groups say that grazing animals like these, and they do look cold, don't they, and birds in particular, struggle to find food. But there are things that we can do to give nature a helping hand, as well as keeping our own pets safe, as our environment correspondent Judy Hobson reports.
While the snow and frost make our gardens and countryside look magical, spare a thought for the region's wildlife. The RSPCA says prolonged, bitterly cold weather creates challenging conditions. What are your main concerns in this freezing weather?
So if you go out for a walk, and the swans and the ducks and the geese and the moorhens and the herons and the birds feeding on the watercourses are feeding normally, but when this happens, the water turns to ice, it becomes a lot harder to find that food. So they may have to then fly elsewhere to look for food, and obviously food provides energy, and energy demands are high in cold weather. So yeah, it does put them under a lot of pressure, and sometimes the RSPCA will get called to birds that don't look very well.
Conservation charities say we can all give nature a helping hand, especially in our gardens.
Just a really simple thing like putting a small tray of water out. It's in liquid form so that birds can actually go and get a drink and have a bath to maintain their feathers, which is really important.
It's been a busy week for the region's farmers, like John Hill in the Forest of Bowland.
It's -7 here today, and it started snowing last Saturday. This is a big problem for us because we had very strong winds on Sunday, causing snowdrifts like the one you see behind me. These are very, very dangerous for our sheep because they can get trapped in them and unable to get out. So we've been going around digging sheep out of snowdrifts, trying to keep them all safe, giving them extra feed because they can't graze the grass because it's covered in frozen snow. But we do have a couple of fields that we can't access at the moment due to the icy conditions. So we won't know the full extent of the damage to our flock until the snow melts.
Say hello to that man. For many of us, pets will be our main concern. Dogs need to be active.
A quick walk around the block is often enough for them just to keep those joints moving without getting them too cold. Or creating some nice fun games in the house. One of the biggest worries when we're out on walks is that grit and that salt that's being used can really, really irritate our pets' paws, and in cats as well. So just if we are taking them out for walks, just when we get back, just giving those paws a really light rinse off and a nice dry. If anyone is using any kind of antifreeze or any products like that, just be aware they are toxic to cats.
And while the freezing weather continues, make sure smaller pets like rabbits and guinea pigs are also protected from the cold. Judy Hobson, BBC North West Tonight.
Oh, some really good advice there. I didn't know about the salt on their paws. Something to look out for. Sport now. Richard is here. You were at Goodison Park last night after the dismissal dismissal of Sean Dyche as manager, and the club is in talks with a very familiar face as a possible replacement.
Yes, very familiar. David Moyes, who managed the club pretty successfully for 11 years from 2002. He's in talks with the club about a possible return to Goodison Park and understood to be the front runner. Last night, after that very unusual departure, as Annabelle says, of Sean Dyche, just hours before the game, Everton made it through to the 4th round of the FA Cup thanks to a scrappy 2-0 win over League One side Peterborough. Beto and Njai on target for the Blues. The club are keen to appoint a new manager before their next Premier League game at home to Aston Villa on Wednesday. One of the most intriguing matches of the weekend's third-round action will be at Anfield tomorrow, lunchtime, with Liverpool welcoming Accrington Stanley. No matter what the circumstances, it would always be a huge occasion, wouldn't it, for League Two Stanley? But with several Scousers in the camp, the trip to the Premier League leaders will be extra special. For Accrington Stanley, this is a tie that sums up the magic of the FA Cup. These were the celebrations for getting to the third round, and this was the reaction from one of the team's Liverpool supporting players after the draw had been made.
I've already just pictured it now, just trying to take everything in really and just soak it all up and hopefully not cry when You'll Never Walk Alone comes on.
The two clubs have only met once before, almost 70 years ago, but the connections are long-standing, not least thanks to a famous milk advert from the 1980s.
Yeah, and he said if I didn't drink lots of milk when I grow up, I'm going to be good enough to play for Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley? Who are they? Exactly.
Well, the current Aki team and their Scouse contingent are determined to show exactly who they are.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words, to be honest. It's going to be mad and you will be a bit starstruck, I think, yeah. But once that first whistle goes, I think you've got to be focused on the game.
Not everyone at Stanley, though, feels quite the same about Liverpool's famous anthem. The boss is a big Everton fan. There's a rumour, John, you turned off You'll Never Walk Alone after a game.
I'll have to be honest, yeah, it did. So I walked, and it was, to be honest, it was brilliant, Rich, because we were all made up. We just beat Colchester, and then the next thing I just said, am I hearing things here? I've walked in the dressing room and it's You'll Never Walk Alone, and I went, right, I'm not having that. Let's turn that off. We've got a few boos and what have you, but no, it was in jest.
As well as the pinch-me moment for the players when they walk out at Anfield rather than the Wham Stadium, there are also major financial implications for Accrington Stanley as well. They reckon that this one game alone is going to bring them well over £350,000, which for a club like this can make a huge difference. And it will certainly be special for Accrington's 4,700 travelling supporters.
For the fans to have a day out, especially at Anfield against a top side, then it's brilliant, isn't it?
And win or lose, it's sure to be a truly unforgettable day for Stanley in the FA Cup. Certainly will be, won't it? Fellow League Two strugglers Morecambe also have a money-spinning tie to look forward to. The Shrimps are making the journey to Chelsea tomorrow. It's the second time that Morecambe have travelled to Stamford Bridge in recent seasons, with about 3,000 fans making the journey to cheer on Derek Adams' men.
The players have been excited, for a number of weeks now since the draw came out, and it's something that we've obviously been before, and we're looking forward to going again.
Best of luck to the Shrimps. There's a real clash of the big guns at the Emirates Stadium on Sunday, with holders Manchester United travelling to Arsenal. And at the Etihad Stadium tomorrow, a former United star will be hoping to upset Manchester City. Ryan Giggs back in the spotlight as director of football at Salford City. And after scoring one of the most iconic goals in FA Cup history, it's a competition that's close to his heart, as he exclusively told Phil Trow.
First time in the third round, so you want to draw a Premier League team, you want to be drawn away, and the challenge and the excitement of being involved in a game like this. So first and foremost football, but of course, together with that, we can earn a few bob.
Are you going to pull off a surprise? I mean, you must have looked at City's form, especially up until the recent improvements, and thought, well, there's a possibility.
They started winning again now, haven't they? We'll try and play the football that has got us where we are in the league, and the philosophy of the club, the philosophy of Class of 92, that we play like we did in the youth team. Exciting football, run as much as the opposition, fight and get the ball down and play.
What about your association and your time with the FA Cup? Obviously some very special memories for you.
Going back to that semi-final, that's one of the best times I've had on a football pitch, obviously scoring that goal against a brilliant Arsenal team. So the FA Cup has always given me, personally, special memories.
If a Salford player scores in the 109th minute, they're allowed to whip the shirt off from down the wing?
Depends if they've been booked or not. I never got booked for it back then. It was that long ago. But yeah, if it's the winner, they can do what they want. The FA Cup just captures the imagination. And that night, it was two brilliant teams going head to head. It was obviously a special season, with it being the treble season and the last ever FA Cup semi-final replay. Villa Park, you know, I'm a real big fan of sort of using the stadiums that we've got in the country rather than the semi-final being at Wembley, because I think that should be kept for the final. So it had that sort of romance that us growing up remember the FA Cup and especially the semi-finals.
You talk there about replays. Are you kind of disappointed that you won't get a replay back here?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said, or there's a lot been said about too much football, but yeah, for clubs like ourselves, obviously replays are big things, you know, we can earn even more money, but yeah, I think we can't complain with the draw that we've got and, you know, the occasion that we're going to witness on Saturday. I was lucky enough to play in lots of finals, win it 4 times, I think, so it's a special cup and it's a cup of upsets, and we hope that happens on Saturday.
As you know, in the FA Cup, you never know. Preston North End and Wigan's FA Cup matches, as well as Barrow's trip to Port Vale in League 2, have been postponed due to frozen pitches. Annabelle, of course, best of luck to all of our teams that are in the competition.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Could be some potential upsets.
There could, you never know.
Could be exciting. Richard, thank you very much. Now, this is Claire. Here she is, I think. Here she is. There she is, worth waiting for. Claire has always loved to dance, but in her 20s, she sadly suffered life-changing injuries and she lost the use of both of her legs. Now, her dream of being a dancer seemed shattered. That was until earlier this year. She got back in touch with her old dance teacher from Manchester and started an adult tap class again, this time using her chair and her hands. Molly Brewer went to meet her.
So for my 4th birthday, my mum said, "What do you want for your birthday?" And I said, "I want to be a dancer." So she enrolled me with Miss Livesey.
Let's go to the corner and we'll do our corner work, travelling backwards.
Claire stayed at Alison Livesey's Academy of Dance until she was 19, but it was just a few years later her life was changed forever. In her mid-20s, Claire was hit by a drunk driver and lost the use of her legs.
Everybody has the trials and tribulations in their life. Everyone faces things. It's just, this is the way my life's gone. And I have like generalised anxiety disorder. I've got mental health issues, and like I've got a lot that makes me want to stay home and not do things like outside. But I think this is pushing the boat out and putting me out of my comfort zone just a little bit.
Claire, now 38, rejoined the dance school earlier this year. She uses taps for her hands and will manoeuvre her chair around along with the rest of the class.
Coming back here, it didn't feel like nervous or anything. It was just, this is where I belong. And I felt like that when I was a kid. I feel like that now.
She contacted me in January. She saw me advertising the new class. She said, "Can I come?" Obviously, I have to adapt things to teach to Claire. And sometimes I'll pick her up on some of the beats that she's doing with her hands, and I'll say sort of like, "No, do it this way or try it a different way."
And for Claire, getting back into dance has reignited the flame. She hopes to be able to teach her own inclusive class in the near future.
Even though I am dealing with a lot of anxieties and stuff, I want to pursue it. Like I wanted to as a kid, I want to again. I don't want to be seen as an inspiration by anyone, but if I can inspire another person in a wheelchair to join a class like and do what I'm doing, then that would be amazing.
Molly Brewer, BBC Northwest Tonight. Bury.
I suspect after this she will be an inspiration to lots of people. The weather has been really cold, hasn't it? So I don't know why I'm wearing no sleeves. I'm not dressed appropriately at all. Are we going to see any milder weather, Abby?
Yes, we are. It's just taking its time to arrive. So we'll probably see scenes like these over the next couple of days still, but Sunday into Monday is when that milder air will really start to appear. But it's been an absolute winter wonderland, hasn't it? I don't think I've ever received so many fabulous Weather Watcher photos. Thank you to Barry for sending this photo in from Lynn and to Something Sandham. Rumthing Sandham, that's a tongue twizzler to catch me out, from Wigan, sent in this morning. If you do take a weather photo over the next few days and you would like to send it in to us here at North West Tonight, all the details on the screen behind me. You can send them directly into me on social media, or you can sign up to become one of our BBC Weather Watchers, and those photos come straight into us at the Weather Centre. So for tomorrow, there will be a little bit more cloud around, perhaps not clear blue sky and sunshine, but it will still be bitterly cold. Temperatures over the next few days will gradually start to climb, and high pressure will keep things largely dry and settled, just starting to pull in a little bit more cloud. But you can see the change in our wind direction to the start of next week, drawing up that milder air from the southwest. So while our weather does look largely dry and settled into Monday and Tuesday, it will feel milder. Overnight tonight, though, at 4:30 this afternoon, the temperatures in central Manchester were at -5 degrees. So they are going to continue to drop, potentially even lower than this. But look at the difference. The Isle of Man sat at 2 degrees. There will be more cloud starting to bubble up from the west, and that will affect our temperatures here. So a very cold, frosty, icy start again to the day tomorrow. The risk of some freezing fog first thing tomorrow morning. Where that lifts, we will then start to see more cloud building in, but some early brightness quite possible. Temperatures around 1, 2, maybe 3 degrees Celsius at best. Just the risk, I think, of a little bit of patchy light rain, and given those low temperatures, it could fall as 1 or 2 very light snow showers, but a largely dry day to come tomorrow. And then we do start to see the impact of that milder air. Still a cold night overnight into Sunday, but Sunday we'll see our temperatures at about 5 or 6 degrees Celsius, and quite possibly frost-free overnight into Monday. Monday and Tuesday, values around 8 or 9 degrees Celsius, just perhaps a little more changeable conditions than we've had over the last few days. Sunday still looking largely dry, variable amounts of cloud, some sunny spells, but about 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. A real contrast, again, the Isle of Man, the mildest spot, because we're seeing that milder air a little sooner, so we could see 10 degrees Celsius. And then into the start of the next week, I think our temperatures will be far more representative of what we are usually seeing this time of year. So around 8, 9, maybe 10 degrees Celsius. With that does come a little more cloud, perhaps a few spots of drizzle, but high pressure never too far away for next week. So a good deal of dry and settled weather still to come, Annabelle.
What a difference next week.
Indeed.
Much warmer, much nicer.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Abby. Before we go, it is 6 years ago today that our friend and colleague Diane Oxbury sadly passed away. I can't believe it's that long.
Me either. And since her death from ovarian cancer, the Diane Oxbury Trust, set up in her memory, has helped to spread the word about the signs of the disease. So hopefully women can be diagnosed quickly and have a much better chance of survival.
Yeah, absolutely. We all still miss her very much here. I know many of you do as well. So we are sending all our love to her family this evening and thinking of you all as well. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.